why do white people pay so much attention to black people if they don't like them? You would think if you didn't like something, why would you be paying attention to it? I don't pay attention to things I don't like.
What's the answer?
The answer is the liar knows what lie he told. You see what I'm saying? So even if I made it deceitful and I made you think that the answer is over here, but the answer is really over here, I'm still going to be looking over here. Me, the one that tricked, because I know this is the right answer. Black people have lost their identity, but our oppressors have not lost our identity. That's just why they chopped those noses off of the Pharaoh and the Sphinx in Egypt in the first place, is because without this nose, we can tell you this is whoever it is. But with that nigga nose, it can only be niggas. Why would somebody vandalize a whole face and only vandalize one part? Nobody wanted to knock an eye off or take an ear off or no chins missing. No, just the nose.
They don't hate you because you're poor. They don't hate you because you're different. They hate you because of this one thing: melanin. Let me break it down, step by step. Step 1. What is melanin? Melanin is not just skin color. It's a powerful pigment found in your skin, hair, eyes, brain, and even your organs. It protects you from the sun. It absorbs light, stores energy, and literally fuels your cells. It's a conductor, a communicator, a protector. Now ask yourself, if melanin is that powerful, why have you been taught to hate it? Step 2. Why melanin was demonized colonizers needed to dominate. But how do you conquer people whose skin is naturally in tune with the universe? You don't just enslave them. You break their spirit. So they turned dark skin into a curse, called blackness primitive, praised whiteness as pure, made you ashamed of what gives you power. They made you believe that the very thing that connects you to the sun, nature, rhythm, and cosmic energy was a flaw. That wasn't ignorance. That was strategy. Step 3. The scientific truth. Here's what they don't want you to know. Melanin regulates your immune system. It exists in your pineal gland, the spiritual center of intuition. It helps protect DNA from damage. It's why your ancestors could survive harsh environments without sunscreen or medication. Melanin isn't a flaw. It's an evolutionary gift. But instead of celebrating it, they created a global beauty standard that demonized it. Step 4. The real fear. Let's talk truth. They fear your skin because it absorbs energy and reflects power. They fear your presence because it triggers ancestral memory. They fear your culture because it's encoded with ancient knowledge. They fear your DNA because they come from you. That's why they criminalize blackness. That's why they police melanin. That's why they profit from it, while telling you it's a curse. It's not a curse, it's a code. Step 5. Awakening time. You were never inferior. You were never less than. You were born with the same frequency as the sun. Melanin is not just pigment. It's power in its purest biological form. And that's exactly why it's the most policed, politicized, and misunderstood element on Earth. So next time someone tells you you're too dark, too loud, too real, tell them, I'm not too anything. I'm melanin made, solar charged, and ancestral backed.
So I think we should all, as white women, just admit we're jealous of black women's hair.
Hello there, YouTube family. I really hope you're doing fine from whichever part of the world you're watching this from. My name is Dev KE and this is Real Talk Black. Now, there has been a lot of discourse going on online about how white folks, especially white women, are coming out openly to express themselves, and most of them are saying they are jealous of the black folks and also the black women because of their black skin, their melanin and all that. So I came across some good videos on TikTok and I made a really good compilation of that. Let's have a dive in and really see what they really had to say about this whole situation.
Racism is about jealousy. If you think that's a reductive statement, please stick with me. When I say jealousy, I'm talking about insecurity, which is really what jealousy is, but I think it's easier to understand if I say insecurity rather than just jealousy. Because we know from appropriation that we are very jealous of other cultures. Why would we want to listen to the music, eat the food, wear the clothes, do the hairstyles, have everything, the language, but not give credit where credit is due and not uplift the people who created it? White people are so lost in feeling like they don't have a connection to culture, especially many of us who are very far removed from our European roots. And I think the need to fill that space and that insecurity of this lack of culture and lack of something to call our own is often filled with cultural appropriation and the idea that being white is superior. I was first introduced to this concept of racism being jealousy in college, and I can't trace it back to one particular scholar, but I would like to give credit where credit is due to that black scholar. If you can find anything tracing it to one particular person, please leave that in the comments. I think it's important to think about racism in this way if we want to unlearn it. Because, as some people say who are non-monogamous, or anyone who's just working on their relationships, jealousy is an indicator that something is not quite right with us. It's an indicator of our insecurity and how we might be feeling. It's not about what our partner is doing or what someone on Instagram is doing with their life that makes us feel inadequate. It's about something going on inside. And I think we really need to interrogate that. What is it about people of color showing excellence, people of color maybe being more in touch with culture, people of color being more in touch with the environment, people of color making better food, and everything else that we envy? What does that trigger in us? And why do we have the need to put those people down? It's about jealousy. And if we can figure out that we're feeling that way and trace that feeling back to maybe some of our unconscious biases, I think it's a lot easier to start thinking about how can we unlearn that? How can I feel secure in my identity as a white person who has roots in maybe Italian and like other cultures, but like doesn't really feel connected to anything? How can I feel secure in myself to not want to put others down, whether that be racism or any other form of discrimination, or just plain hating on another woman because she's amazing? You know, I think this makes it seem like racism is very simple, but it also just helps us frame it in a way that's accessible to us. We know that dismantling racism starts with individual work, and personal growth is all about thinking about the hard things about yourself and the things and parts of yourself that you don't like. And jealousy is one of those things. No one wants to be jealous. It's an awful, awful feeling. And we don't want to admit that we're jealous. And we shy away from that, but it's something we can interrogate, and I think that is going to help us go a long way. Anyway, just my thoughts. Happy Juneteenth. I hopefully will speak about this more coherently in the future. Black Lives Matter.
If you can't trust nothing, or you can't trust no one, you could surely trust nature to tell you the truth. When you look out this window, you see the tree and the cloud. The cloud reminds you of cotton, the cotton field, where your ancestors sacrificed worked hours, long hours, 12 hours, sometimes more, to pave a way for you all, just so you can shit on them. These clouds should be a reminder to you all of what you are fighting for every day, why you are here, and what is your purpose. These clouds out there on top of those trees, that reminds you of that cotton, should remind you every day of where you will go, what you will be doing if you all don't get it together. See, the cotton grows on the tree. It takes about 2 years for cotton to revive itself. What you've been seeing in films is your ancestors picking cotton from shrubs and bushes. Now, how is that significant? It's significant because it will show you and tell you how conniving and disgusting these white people are. See, the sun shines in that blue sky. It rises and it sets. White people didn't want to work the cotton field. Not because they couldn't, but because they got a lot of pleasure of watching your ancestors sacrifice their lives, bleed, die, deteriorate. It was all for shits and giggles. The shrubs of cotton that you see was sprayed so that they wouldn't grow into trees. They used a growth regulator, a plant growth regulator, that instead of them waiting 2 years for that cotton tree to grow, they will stay as shrubs so your ancestors could break their fucking backs. So they can break their fucking backs. So they can sweat in the sun. So their hands could prick and bleed from that cotton. They could have waited 2 years. They chose not to. They've been playing this game, manipulating shit, trying to play God and shit. They're unnatural to this world. It was all for shits and giggles what they did to your ancestors. They enjoyed it. They could have waited for that cotton tree to grow. 2 years, that's all it took. They could have just made a little apparatus, a stick, go in that tree, pluck them down. They chose not to. they enjoyed their pain. The same way they enjoy your pain now. Going to work every day. Not having time for your children. Not having time for yourself. They enjoy it. Even the diabetes, where you see your grandparents, your mothers, sometimes your kids pricking their fingers. That's a reminder of the cotton field. They enjoy it. You really think it's normal to have these diseases, to have diabetes? How about if I tell you it comes from the cotton field? It comes from those growth regulators that they've been spraying. A lot of these diseases that they say is genetic came from those plant regulating hormones. It sounds crazy, but it's the truth, because nature doesn't lie. Everything that they are doing to you right now is for shits and giggles. They enjoy it. They could have went out there when the sun went down and did the work. They chose not to. They could have worn some protective clothing and went out there. They chose not to. They got a pleasure out of the pain of your ancestors, as they do today. They get a pleasure when you cry, when you hear your son's been shot in the streets. They get a pleasure out of that shit. And there you are, shitting on your ancestors every day. Because you think it won't be you. It can't be you that's going to go through this. You're going through it now. They just gave you some cheap clothing to put on. Put their names on it. You're no different from your ancestors. That's you right there, working that cotton field, working for that money. That's what it's made of. Hybrid cotton. It's hybrid, not even real cotton. Fake shit. Just so they could laugh at you. So before you say you're not your ancestor, look outside, look up. Look at them clouds. You're in the cotton field.
I have a theory about why black women and white women are having such a hard time getting along, and it starts with a story. When I first started teaching, I was in a teacher training program with 3 other women. 2 of them were black and 1 of them was Indian, and we started teaching at the same school, the same grade, at the same time. One of these women, a black woman, completely excelled. She did so much better than I did at literally everything. Classroom management, her test scores were high. She was excellent at literally everything. And something about her excellence didn't sit right with me. I just didn't feel good about it, and I couldn't figure out why I didn't feel good about it. It was internalized racism, but I didn't know that yet. So I had to sit with this idea of her being better than me and trying to figure out why it didn't feel good and feel comfortable for me. And of course, at the time, I didn't know that I needed to do the work of anti-racism, so I didn't think it was possibly because I could have internalized racism. I had to do a lot of study and thought about myself and what could possibly be making me feel this way about this woman. And here's what I discovered. Most of the media that I had consumed up to that point in my life had white people as the central characters. And the shows and other media that I consumed that had white women at the central characters often had black women as the side characters. These black women's role in these movies was to assist the white women, support the white women, advise the white women, but never to rise above the white women. Even shows that were about black women, like The Help, had white women as the central character and the black women as supporting characters.
So white people will never leave black people alone, and I'm gonna tell you why. White society's obsession with black people isn't new, it's centuries old. If you think about slavery, colonialism, and exploitation, from the start, white wealth in America was built off the backs of black bodies. Sugar, cotton, tobacco, rice. This wasn't just economics, it was a system where white people's very identity was shaped around controlling and owning and watching black bodies. But here's the wild contradiction in all of this, right? While trying to dehumanize us, white culture has always been obsessed with us, right? They copied our music, our style, our language, our food, even our rhythm, all while denying us basic rights. Think about jazz and rock and hip hop and fashion, all born out of black genius, only to be taken, watered down, and sold back to the world with a white face on it. So why can't they just stay away? Because in a system that is built both on exploitation and envy, distance is impossible. White supremacy depends on keeping black people in place, close enough to use, control, or imitate, but never free enough to threaten the hierarchy. It's a sick paradox, fear and fascination at the same damn time. On a psychological level, it's projection. White folks will project their guilt, their fear, and their insecurities onto blackness, and then turn around and crave the very life, culture, and resilience they try to destroy. It's like they want the sauce, but not the struggle. Now, to be real, not every white person acts like this, but the system, the way whiteness has defined itself against blackness, makes it so this obsession keeps resurfacing. Whether it's over policing or culture appropriation or trying to legislate our lives, it always comes back to the old need to dominate mixed with a quiet desire to be what they can't.
Oh, I do think that white people are absolutely jealous of black people, specifically with the community, and also with like fashion and music and everything else that is appropriated. But by design of what whiteness is, it inherently lacks community. And I think we're absolutely jealous of that. And I've heard biracial people say that they do see that difference in their own families. Because in addition to European cultures being more individualistic than cultures from Africa, South America, and indigenous North American cultures, the invention of whiteness in America erased a lot of ties to actual culture. So when I say like white people, black community, I'm not talking about like Polish people or German people or Irish people. As I explain in my book, I just wrote the intro and I'm working on the conclusion today. Y'all keep me in your prayers. In the course of human history, white is a relatively new term. As we discussed in the introduction to this book, white is a North American term emerging from the 1600s as a term to justify the enslavement of Africans and squelch revolts from poor Europeans and indentured servants. Before this term, Europeans would identify with their nationalities. The Irish, Italians, Germans, French are all very different cultures. Thus, there is not the same communal tie to whiteness as there is for people from other communities. Further, since white was created to be a divider, a separator, it is not a happy identity. It is not something people want to admit they relate to. It doesn't have a rich, healthy history. Speaking as a white American who has conducted national level research on white Americans, we tend to say things like we have German, Irish, Italian, etc. ancestry, even if we have never been to those places. This is because all white Americans have ties to immigration, and because these identities are actual cultures, they do not have roots only in oppression. Now, we know who started colonization, right? So this is the book I'm trying to finish by Monday and send to the editor. There's a free chapter in my bio if you're interested on one of the unwritten rules of work. The book is predominantly about class, but I talk about 3 other identities that you can't talk about class without talking about these other identities, and race is absolutely one of them.
Pose the question, why do white people hate black people so much? I have been in situations where I've been surrounded by nothing but white people. And this conversation has come up. The race conversation has come up. And no one ever has an actual reason as to why they hate black people. There's always these, oh, black on black crime. Oh, they're lazy. Oh, they're this. But it's not actually, there's no legitimacy behind their reasoning. It's just shit that they've heard and they're regurgitating. And so, long story short, it really comes down to there is no reason. It's a deep-seated jealousy, a deep-seated hate that, you know, black people exude greatness. Black people are the great inventors. Black people are the beginning of the human race, the Eve gene. And white people have worked so hard to erase the history and erase the greatness of the black race. Down to even when things are invented, the majority of things that are invented were invented by a black person. But yet the white race has actually erased the original inventor from history and have put their names on things that they had no business putting their names on.
Melanin. Most people only think of it as the pigment that colors our skin, but this molecule does something far more than just paint us. It protects, connects, and communicates with the light that sustains us on Earth. Melanin is a complex biopolymer found in animals, humans, and plants. It absorbs ultraviolet radiation, shielding our DNA from damage, and it converts a portion of that light into usable chemical energy, almost like a natural solar panel. It's in the hair, skin, and eyes, and even inside the brain and inner ear. Without melanin, life on this planet will be far more vulnerable to the sun that gives it power. Ancient civilizations sensed that there was something sacred about this dark substance. In Egyptian temples, the color black wasn't a symbol of death. It was fertility, rebirth, and divine potential. They saw the darkness of the soil and the cosmos as the womb of creation itself. Across Africa and the ancient world, darkness meant origin, not absence. When light meets melanin, energy is transformed and stored. That exchange between light and darkness is the same dance that powers the galaxies, photosynthesis, and human life. It's the cosmic rhythm written in our biology. A reminder that we are not separate from nature. We are nature expressing itself. Somewhere along history, darkness began associated with fear or negativity. But scientifically and spiritually, darkness is the start of creation. Every star is born in the dark. Even seeds sprout in darkness. To honor melanin is to honor that creative principle, that intelligence that turns energy into life. So the truth about melanin isn't just about color. It's about connection to light, to earth, and the universe itself. It reminds us how intertwined we are with cosmic energy, how connected everything and everyone is, especially if you're a melanated person. You are extravagant. And it's not that you're better than everyone else, it's just that you are amazing. And you need to know that. Remember, the universe expresses itself through every shade of creation, and melanin is one of the most beautiful signatures.
After watching that video, we can see that this is not just about skin color. It's all about identity. It's about confidence. It's about survival. It's about how, despite everything thrown at Black people, they still continue to shine, to innovate, and to influence culture worldwide. And now the same system that once looked down on them is starting to ask how they do it. We all know that white folks have been jealous of the Black people or the people of color for a long time because of their good taste in music, their dress code, their appearance, especially for the ladies, for their black hair, their melanin and all that. And we've seen more and more white folks coming out openly to express that. But then Black people are blessed to have this melanin, this conspicuous skin that protects them from the sun, that does not age fast and all that. So for a long time, the Black color has always been associated with evil. When you look at the Bible stories or the movies that are broadcasted online, then you see that Satan is normally black, and then Jesus or goodness is associated with white. So that in a way tries to diminish the blackness or the Black people. And yeah, they are normally associated with evil, while the white folks are somehow related to goodness or proximity to Jesus. So that is a whole topic that I wouldn't want to get into right now. But yeah, that's just how it is. So many of these white folks are coming out to openly saying that racism is not really racism, but it's a code name for, jealousy. They are jealous of the Black folks, and that's why you see these mistreatments going on. We know that Black Americans really played a huge part in the development of the United States. From the transatlantic trade, we have the Black folks working in the farms, doing all the sorts of hard labor for these people. And that's why some of us Black folks have always been openly championing and advocating for reparations for African countries, so that at least they get compensated for their labor and the hard work that they put in the development of the United States. So the truth is that melanin is more than a color. It's a symbol of pride, reflection, heritage, and a reminder that Blackness has always been divine. So it's not something to be pitied, but something to be respected and envied, that some of these folks are saying. So maybe this new wave of questioning from white Americans isn't a bad thing. Maybe it's the beginning of understanding of who we are as a Black people, and the first step towards acknowledging that the world tried to suppress is actually worth celebrating. So what do you think about this growing melanin envy and this whole situation? Is it a sign of awareness or just another form of fascination that misses the real message behind Black excellence? Drop your thoughts down below in the comment section, because this conversation has been long overdue, and it's time we speak about it. So thank you so much for watching up until the end. If you're watching the channel for the first time, please take a minute to subscribe, like and share, so that you can help me get to 5,000 subscribers. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.